Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Goron1988 and this is the Open Weekly. And it's between Mr. Ed 3, Power 2 Mario, 8-Bit, and Lucian Grief. As you can see, there are some different spots in here. Mr. Ed is doing Sanctuary, Power 2 Mario is doing from Link's House, same as 8-Bit, and Lucian Grief is doing from Sanctuary. Okay, so you see that Mr. Ed is doing the Houlihan, whilst Power 2 Mario is doing Uncle. Lucian has done the Lost Woods, and Latebit has found a lot of money with the Gods of Zora. There we see our Light World check, pendant in Hera and Desert Palace, and I believe a 5/6 crystal, which is Eastern Palace. Mr. Ed buying bombs, thinking that he might not get some within Kakariko, so just making the play now. And I see some of our players have got gloves. Thank you to our Jack Hackers, Jinxie Girl and Rocco, for all of this. We'll eventually get into a routine, and I'm sure eventually Triceratops will join us. Just a little bit of technical difficulties. So we see Saha from Mr. Ed and Blind from Lucian Grief. Okay, and welcome, Triceratops. How are you today? Okay. So all that we can see so far is that Ice Rod and Blind's Hut and the gloves, which I didn't notice where it is, so if anybody wants to say in chat, you are more than welcome to. And that, okay, thank you, chat, for letting me know it was in Stank. So we have, oh yeah, we have Moonpearl as well. Lucian has picked it up. Again, thank you so much for our trackers. So just a hammer for Dark World access for Lucian specifically. We'll see if anything else is needed. Okay, and there was Blind House Bow. And I might have seen a hook shot with regards to Mini Moldorm Cave. So, let's see. A lot of our players are in Kakariko right now. Mr. Ed going to give us a new check. That will be the Ice Guard check. And that is just a full heart container from the Ice Guard check. And chat definitely putting out those single arrows there. Just checking if you could all be really helpful. Ooh, that's a sword in the dam, so that's interesting. Where was Moonpearl? Lost Woods, thank you ever so much, chat.
Goron, are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am. Welcome, Triceratops. How are you doing?
I am well. It was quite a journey to get here, but I'm finally here, and I'm excited to see some rando action. Looking like we got some interesting items, some capes and gloves and ice rods, and a moon pearl.
Yes, definitely. Just trying to make sense of it. A lot of the Kakariko checks have been doing. Mr. Ed has done a Houlihan, and Lucian Greeth is about to do one. So, yeah, it's quite a lot of stuff, but still not any Dark World access. And we're a sword from Aga.
Interesting. With the Houlihan, I'd imagine possibly the Zora area is going to be looked at soon.
Yes, that would be my assumption as well. Yeah, chat saying sword and lamp. Thank you. Although actually, between the knowledge, it's only a lamp because the cape is somewhere where the runners can get to it because everybody but Mr. Ed has the cape. So that's what we're looking for. Again, thank you, chat. So Late Bit is going into Eastern Palace with that bow, is going to out of logic lamp checks. This is quite standard for our runners. Whilst Lucian has found the midst, that's Dark World access. That might be big. That might be opening the seed up to him.
Now I know I have a little bit of catching up to do. Where was the bow?
The bow was in Blind Tap. And yes, Riptagger. So there's the mushroom. The mushroom was back of escape to turn into the mitts. Got it. So we figured all of that out. But yeah, Lucian about to pick up his sword. We'll just see when the rest of them turn in their mushrooms, really, because that will just be, well, that'll be Dark World access for some of them. Half of them have the Moonpill, the right side. The left side don't have Moonpill. The Moonpill is in the Lost Woods, so Miss Ed should be picking it up shortly and seeing if there's anything on Lumberjack, I am sure. Although, just looking, with this loadout, in total from our runners, you've got Mitts, you've got Moonpill, you've got Hookshot. I know Mr. Ed only has gloves, but if you wait long enough, that's a brilliant Death Mountain Dark Death Mountain play, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd imagine these runners are feeling pretty confident going through some dark rooms to get up to Death Mountain.
Hmm.
It looks like
Yep.
Late Bit is demonstrating some confidence in a dark room already.
Yep, those are the dark rooms in Eastern Palace. Some of the easier dark rooms in the game, but Late Bit is just showing us, how our talented runners just go through these dark rooms with absolute and utter ease. And Late Bit can now check the big chest and also go to the back. The back dark room where you've got to kill the Igor does give a little bit of difficulty for our runners, so let's hope that Late Bit can go through it quite well. So Mr. Ed is the first up the mountain. We'll be able to see the Paradox Cave checks. We know that there can't be mitts up here, so there can be no Dark Death Mountain checks. What might be good for Mr. Ed at this moment would be... Oh, sorry, no Moonpearl Ether. Mr. Ed hasn't seemed to have checked Lost Woods, of course. But a hammer would be good for Mr. Ed in order to make it to the Tower of Hera, whilst 8-Bit is picking up some fairies, regenning on health, basically. And there we get to see the map check. All crystals, apart from Ice Palace, which is Red Crystal, and Swamp Palace and Misery Mire, which are pendants. So we're seeing some Dark World divergence here. Oh, sorry. Lucian Grief is the only one in the Dark World at the moment, and that is Skullwoods. I thought I saw somebody else in the Dark World, but must have been a trick of the light.
They're just dark screens.
Ah, I see. It's because they don't have the lamp. And here I was thinking that they were Misery Maya, you know? So, 2 items in Skullwoods, although one of which might be locked beneath the fire rod. 8-Bit is massively showing how to defeat the Armos Knights. Just gets the map and, well, his first crystal, which I believe... No, the 5-6 crystals on the track, I believe, are Tower of Hera and Ice Palace, as I saw there. So we'll just have to see, effectively. And it seems as though Lucian Grief is going to be checking the big key chest in Skullwoods. Mr. Ed, yeah, you go.
I was going to say, with 8-Bit's first crystal under their belt, where do you think they're going to be heading next? It looks like doing South Shore?
Yeah, looks like 8-Bit is definitely doing South Shore. Eventually, 8-Bit will need to get that mushroom and get it turned in for the mitts and go to Lost Woods in order to get the Moonpearl. I think that'll be the same for most of our runners. It's pretty close for our runners, apart from Lucian Grief, who has the seed open by having those mitts and having that Moonpearl. That would be my personal opinion. Lucian Grief is finding some issues with regards to Skullwoods. Just this, I believe, Gibdo causing some trouble. And there we see 8-Bit getting the hook shot. But yeah, I mean, I think the question is, for me personally, where do you think the hammer is?
Oh, geez, that's a good question.
Because Tower of Hera is a crystal, and we either need the mirror or the hammer in order to get to it.
Have we seen, I guess 8-Bit is reading my mind, because I was going to say, have we seen the escape?
Yes, we have. That's the mushroom. The mushroom leading to mitts. So yeah, we'll just see. Power 2 Mario getting his first crystal. 8-Bit getting that mushroom, hopefully leading him towards towards Potion Shop. Of course, that's 2 items for them. Mr. Ed has turned in Potion Shop for the mitts, only really needs the Moonpearl from the Lost Woods. And Power 2 Mario needs to find the mushroom and turn it in effectively. Lucian Grief is checking Bumper Ledge. That is the Cane of Samaria. So that cape is really useful today because Turtle Rock is a crystal. We'll see if it's useful with regards to Misery Maya. Definitely a lot of tricks that these runners can do with the Cane of Samaria, including Diver Down and Icebreaker.
Yes, that's going to be an important piece of the puzzle, and Lucian's grabbing it right now.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, where are the medallions, as Turtle Rock is a crystal as well? So Late Bit is climbing up the mountain. Gets a bottle from the old man, so that bottle can be turned into Sick Kid. Lucian is in the Dark World, so we'll see where he goes exactly. Seems to be C-shaped house first, so we might be able to see a Thief's Town play from this. Ooh, and that's the Fire Rod, which does give a lot of possibilities to our runners.
You might want to turn back around and go back up to Skull Woods soon after clearing out the village.
Definitely. It opens up a lot. I'm just trying to think what we might possibly need. So Ice Palace logically will require the flippers. Swamp Palace is a pendant, as much as I know, so we don't need to worry about the flippers are required logically, but not practically, is what I'm trying to say. We'll need one of the medallions, certainly. We'll need the hammer because Pod is a crystal. And the hammer would grant us access to Tower of Hera as well, so that'll be good. Lamp is probably required as well. And I think that's about it, to be honest with you. So we're not too far away. Even at 16 minutes, there's a lot of items that both our runners have found. All four of our runners have found. And we see now Lucian doing Dick Game. So yes. Mr. picking up that Moon Pearl. So Late Bit is just doing checks in the mountain. And Lucian Grief has gotten the boots. Every minute a runner has the boots, that's just a second. You know that runner is effectively winning off the other runners. So we'll see if it adds up, and it seems as though it will definitely help him. As
it's going to be helpful when he goes on the world tour here with our frog friend, for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Mr. Ed is also into the Dark World now, and I think is going to be possibly heading into Thieves Town, I would imagine.
Yep, that is something that Lucian Grief hasn't done, so will be interesting to see. Lucian Grief is probably going for Hype Cave. Now, is Hype Cave hype, or is it not hype? That really is the question. I'm gonna go moderately hype. What about you, Briceratops?
Do you know what? I'm feeling generous. I think it's going to be a good one.
Okay, 50 rupees, 2 sets of 3 bombs. There is the powder and 50 rupees, so...
And Hype Cave never delivers when you want it to.
It definitely doesn't, unless that pounder leads us to something. So... Power Mario picking up a sword from the dam. I did notice that Power 2 Mario has another sword. Can somebody tell me where that sword was, please? And thank you ever so much. And we see Late Bit picking up his mitts as Lucian Grief looks at King's Tomb. That's the lamp. That's a little bit out of the way, so will be really worth, especially for the Turtle Rock Dark Rooms. So that'll be late on, so maybe all our runners will get that. But we'll just see. So Late Bit is going up to Zora, whilst Power 2 Mario is doing the Agina checks. Lucian Grief has done Bonk Rocks, so a lot of new checks here. Nothing at Agina's cave. And just seeing. So Lucian Grief is going to be turning in that blacksmith. We'll see what we get from that. Maybe a sword upgrade. There's still 2 left up. And
Now, I'm thinking, looking at this loadout here, would you think Pod is going to be an early play? They have the bow.
I personally think that Pod is probably not the first play that our runners will be thinking. I mean, Mr. Ed, for instance, is doing Thieves Town right now. Lucian Greeth still has the back of Skull Woods to do, which is a crystal. Thieves Town is a crystal. It makes sense for our runners to do those two definitely first before Pod. And then I think the question is, if you don't find anything there, do you do Pod or do you do, Turtle Rock? Why am I thinking Turtle Rock? Or do you do those Dark Death Mountain plays, effectively? Because there's still Hookshot Cave, and there are still the Super Bunny Cave checks, in which I think 8-Bit is going to turn into Super Bunny to do these two checks, actually. And yes, runners, as much as I know, they should be able to do ice, but albeit not logically. So yes, that is a good point. And that is a sword in Thieves Town, so that is 3 of the swords known, basically. Runners shouldn't have a problem with swords this seed. At most, they'll probably get something like a Tempered Sword Ganon fight, which isn't too bad for them, really. But yeah, Lucian still has those boots. And until Lucian, the other runners get it, that's definitely an advantage on his side. Mr. Ed is going to face off against Blind now. And 8-Bit is checking Hookshot Cave. I must assume that 8-Bit has picked up the Moon Pearl in order to get this.
And Mr. Ed puts Blind away easily, following the script. Picking up their first crystal.
So, 8-Bit has found the Cane of Burner in Hookshot Cave. That is possible invulnerability with respect to Spike Cave still needing a hammer. And yeah, Mr. Ed's first crystal. So, different first crystals from from all of our runners. I'm not too sure what's next. I mean, Pod is definitely a possible play here after Skull Woods, isn't it?
Mr. Ed, I think Skull Woods, and then either Eastern or Pod, but it looks like they're going to head up the mountain first.
For Mr. Ed, that's the Cane of Samaria on Bumper Ledge. So.
Oh, right, yes, that's correct.
Well, I think it might work like that in Inverted. I keep having to check my notes on Inverted to check how it exactly works, so... So that must be a relief for Mr. Ed. And Power 2 Mario is doing the Spiral Cave. We'll see if anything's... Yeah, you go.
I was going to say, 8-Bit gets the knowledge that the Cane of Samaria is on Bumper Ledge, but was getting bodied a little bit on the way into the entrance.
Yeah, it might take a little bit of time, but hopefully 8-Bit will be able to recover hearts. I mean, eventually a save and quit will happen, so... Or a heart refill, we don't know. And that is the fire up for Mr. Ed, so that puts the full of Skullwoods in Logic. That is a benefit for Mr. Ed against Lucian, will be that Lucian will need to double dip Skullwoods, but Mr. Ed, once he decides to go into Skullwoods, will just be able to single dip it. So it seems like Mr. Ed will be getting his boots soon. Power 2 Mario is going for the Ice Rod, and Lucian Greef is just completing Thieves Town.
Is Power to Mario giving her first check of the Zora region?
It has been checked once before, I think very early on, but I haven't seen what's in Waterfall Cave, so we'll at least be able to see what's in there. It should be nothing, but what kind of nothing is it? It's hearts and bombs. And a bottle refill.
And yeah, a little bit of red potions that are going to be turned down.
So, if you were any of these runners, knowing what pendants there are, and I know that you can't get to Desert Palace, Ice Palace, or Misery Mire for that fact without extra knowledge, but where would you be worried that progression is, considering these three pendant locations?
Oh, geez. Well, to me, I know. Pod. I said earlier, Pod seems like a place to go. That's kind of where I feel our runners are being pulled. Um, I would also, I'd also be worried about what is in the desert region. If the old man in the desert has something useful, we're all kind of headed in the wrong area of the map.
Hmm. Again, has been checked, but the one thing is, if they get the flute and the mirror, for instance, having something like flippers on Checkerboard Cave, that would really put our runners out. I mean, they'd probably check it quite quickly, but knowing our runners, they would either do Desert Perilous or Maya and then check that, which could tip the balance in one of our runners' favors. So yeah, I think my personal worst pendant to dip in this seed, I think it's got to go to Maya, especially if it's not a God Maya. I know that the God Maya might not be help be helpful, but at least you could go to the boss, get a pendant and a possible item, and then just redo everything.
Possible two items because it's a green pendant as well.
Yes, definitely. So Power 2 Mario is giving us some back of the escape chats. Late bit, this is his second crystal at 27 minutes and 42 seconds. And it doesn't seem as though there's anything in back of escape. We'll just have to see. For Power 2 Mario, it's just waiting on when he gets those mitts. Although a hammer could help him, although that means that he wouldn't be able to get mitts for later effectively.
Yeah, feels like we've been kind of stuck as far as progression for quite a while now.
I mean, you said it. I'm agreeing with you. That's Pod. And for some of these runners, they haven't done Eastern Palace yet either. So, for Mr. Ed and Lucian Grief, they haven't done Eastern. So you got to hope that something like a Mirror's in Pod and you can just mirror to Eastern and do them both. If you get the hammer as well in Pod. I know. It's a hope at this point. So, Lucian Grief taking an unfortunate death there. We'll just be able to start off from the old man. Nothing on Smiths. I'm sure we've seen it before. Just
Not
reiterating, and nothing on Sick Kid.
just a little bit of cash for helping out, return an old friend home, and checking in on the kid.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, that's the money for Kiki. So Mr. Egg going back into Dark World. This is what I said before. He'll be able to just full clear Skull Woods. I mean, Late Bit is doing the same actually, so this is a benefit that both Mr. Ed and Late Bit have that Lucian Grief doesn't have at this moment. And Power 2 Mario seems to be doing all the Zora checks, but without doing it the fake flip away, I guess. I mean, this is Mushroom Turn-In, actually, so I'm not too sure if Power 2 Mario has done Zora. It could just be, yeah, it could just be Mushroom at this point. Yeah, at this point, probably best to say, you know, these runners, they let us restream them, you know, for our enjoyment. Make sure to give them all a follow. They're all lovely, brilliant runners, and it's just lovely to see them race here.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're putting on a great show for us, even though they're all kind of retreading each other's tracks at this particular moment. Lucian Green taking an unfortunate spill, setting up a bomb jump.
Yep. So Mr. Ed is checking the big chest and waiting for the dead hand to capture him. Okay, so I'm just wondering how many of our runners will just converge on pod at the same time. Like, if they weren't in separate instances, it would just be like it would be like an MMO raid, wouldn't it?
It could be pod racing.
Now this is pod racing. Yeah. Yep. As chat's saying, flippers cannot be in GT because flippers are necessary for Swamp Palace. And we see Mr. Ed using Fire Rod and Master Sword strats on Mothula.
A really generous Mothula fight too. Mr. Ed putting him away to pick up the big key and their second crystal.
Yep, so that is Mr. Ed's second crystal. At this point, it's tough to know who's ahead because it's not just crystals, it's what checks have our runners done and what knowledge they have. But it definitely feels good to have a crystal under your belt. Well, it's not just one, it's two. So, what item do you feel would be the worst for our runners with regards to progression? I mean, hammer would.
Well,
Hammer would actually be good, actually.
Hammer's kind of blocking a lot of progression right now.
I mean, flippers could signalize Palace. Again, yeah, flippers could signalize Palace is the problem, and
we haven't seen any of the medallions either. We don't know what either Turtle Rock. Oh no, we do know what Turtle Rock is, but not the Misery Mire, of course, yet.
I mean, if any of our runners got Ether, this might be bad for them because they might dip Turtle Rock. Well, they could full clear Turtle Rock, so actually that's not a problem. Yeah, I'm gonna go with flippers because it's a possibility with regards to ice. Mirror could be bad as well, although we know hammer is hard required. Let me just double check on it. Yes, hammer will be hard required because Swamp Palace is a crystal. I think mirror would give a lot of mirror checks that a lot of these runners have already done.
And Late Bit picking up their third crystal in just under 35 minutes.
Yep. Powering through these, and yes, chat is right. Yeah, DR does need a hammer. So Mr. Ed now knowing that Turtle Rock is a crystal. Sorry. Not that Turtle Rock is a crystal, that Turtle Rock is ether. The one thing I haven't seen yet, because there has been, you know, we're thinking about Pod, for instance, but nobody's turned in Purple Chest, and that's completely in logic now. It's not a good check to, you know, route in. It's gonna take a lot of time, but if progression's on Purple Chest, it's gonna feel bad for all of our runners.
Along that same line, has any of the runners, Late Bit picking up their boots from the dig game, has any of our runners checked the pyramid ledge?
True. Let me think. I don't think Pyramid Ledge is accessible. I don't think I've been in this situation that much, because you need the hammer and you need the hammer for access to the east side, and you need hammer for access to a portal with regards to Palace of Darkness. So if anybody can correct me, please do. Yes, you could do it with regards to Aga, but you could do it with regards to Aga, or they need the hammer. And yes, just thank you ever so much, chat. Supposedly there's something called current jumping, which is something that they can do as well. So, oh, actually, I'm trying to think. That's kern jumping, isn't it? If I remember correctly, I think it's called. Yeah.
Either way, if this is Aga required to get to Pyramid Ledge to get our hammer, that's going to be a rude seed.
Yes. I do think that our more experienced runners will just... Let me see. Yeah, we'll just ignore that requirement, to be honest with you, but it's going to show the difference in basically our runners and what they can do. But yeah, so all this time I was thinking about Pod's, apart from an... Well, it's in logic due to Aga, but it's... Yeah. Actually, it's completely in logic due to Aga. The runners just need to do Aga. So this seed could be logically Aga required. That's big.
That's gross. That would be a gross way to have to do the tower climb. But that's also rando.
Yep, everything is randomized between... I mean, it's roughly 225 locations, I think, so... You know, it's got to be somewhere. And Late Bit trying to find out what's on Lumberjack. I believe we've seen it. I might be wrong. I believe it was nothing. But yeah, not able to with that Smith there.
Lucian has just picked up their second crystal in the Eastern Palace, and then has a choice to make on where to head next.
Yeah, so that's Eastern Palace. I mean, it's got to be Skullwoods for Lucian. That's the main thing. Power 2 Mario is finishing up Skullwoods. Mr. Ed is finishing up Eastern Palace, and Late Bit has finished them all. So it looks like Late Bit is actually slightly ahead at this moment in this bottleneck. We'll see if Late Bit decides to do Purple Chest or just goes straight for Aga or does a skip. And Late Bit checking library. So just a few checks Late-Bit hasn't done before. Late-Bit saving and quitting. Power to Mario getting his second crystal, that being Skull Woods. And Mr. Ed on his third crystal now. Late-Bit saving and quitting from the mountain. Probably wondering, where's next? And is this an Aga play? It has to be, right? Late-Bit is going to Aga after we ruled it out at the start of this, going, yeah, that's Dark World access, we're good. Late-Bit is going, well, these are Hyrule Castle checks first, as Lucian Grief is doing Hyrule Castle. So we'll see if it's Aga, actually. Yes, thanks, chat. And it seems as though Mr. Ed is trying to put in some form of fake flippers, I would assume. And yeah, Lucian Grief is doing Back of Escape, Late-Bit is about to do Back of Escape, and Power to Mario is in Skull Woods. And that will be Mr. Egg getting his third sword under the bridge. Yeah, this seed, an Aga seed, of all things.
That's got to be frustrating. But I imagine all our runners are thinking that everyone else has probably done all these checks before deciding to climb the tower as well. So can't be that far behind. At least that's what I'd imagine is what is going through each one of our runners' brains at this moment.
And chat saying that was a splash delete on Mr. Ed's side, so that's interesting. Mr. Ed is going to be picking up some more bombs and more arrows, and Lucian Grief is effectively warping to front escape in order to do Dark Cross. So yeah, Mr. Ed is moving to Zora. This is the thing, as a commentator, we know where everything is. It's just our runners have their limited knowledge, and it's just trying to think, what have the runners done? Where is their knowledge taking them, and what do they have left? As Late-Bit warps to the front of Hyrule Castle. So Lucian is going to Sanctuary. Just trying to think, where is this? Where's Lucian trying to go? Maybe Lucian hasn't checked Lumberjack yet? And yes, chat pointing out, yes, all the people being restreamed, they aren't all the people on the race. We have, I haven't counted, but we have about 20 people in this race, and certainly one of them has just decided, okay, I have two swords, I have the lamp now, let's just go straight to Aga. I'm sure somebody has done that.
I'm sure someone has, but it feels like a big commitment. So I think all our runners are making sure that they've done their due diligence before they commit to the climb.
Most runners would follow this through logically, as all our runners have done so far. So Mr. Ed is now going for Hyrule Castle. Just trying to think. Mr. Ed, I think he has done everything apart from Hyrule Castle and Dark Cross, so we might start to get an Aga play after this.
It'd be interesting to see if all our runners converge to do the Aga Tower climb roughly around the same time.
A few of ours might. Power 2 Mario and Lucian Greeth are on 2 crystals now, so they definitely have those crystals. By the way, Lucian Greeth is turning in purple chest. Is this it? Is this the hammer? I don't think you can use 50 rupees as a hammer. I might be wrong. Yeah, that was 50 rupees. That wasn't a hammer. That wasn't a hammer. And yes, chat was saying that Book does unlock some checks here. So it would unlock the Desert Palace checks. And Lightbit is going to give us some Zora checks again. So it's just, where do these runners go now? Power 2 Mario has his 3rd crystal at 46 minutes and 5 seconds. And Mr. Ed is taking hits from the Green Guard right now in order to warp. So let's see. Power 2 Mario about to get his boots from digging game. And let me see. Everybody else so far has boots. Mr. Ed going for Dark Cross. Yeah. I mean, all I can think is just Aga. They might be able to jump across and ignore Aghanim and check Pyramid Ledge, but it does seem as though it's logically required this seed. How do you think our runners are feeling, starting to know that knowledge?
You know what? I'd imagine it's the dawning that this might be an Aga seed is got to be both a little bit frustrating and a little bit relieving at the same time. Frustrating in the way that, we basically did the world tour, but relieving knowing that basically every other runner has done the same thing at this point.
Chat asking, would you fake flipper ice? I mean, what we're missing is hammer and one medallion, the ether medallion, as Mr. Ed is making his way up to Aga. You could, would be my opinion on it, but I think it's probably best to follow where the logic goes and go into pod. Would be my thought on it, really. But yeah, it is a possibility. What do you think about fake flippering ice, Barceratops?
Well, normally I'm a fan of the skipping, but in this particular case, it seems like we're pretty funneled, and it would be a shame to get an item that kind of diverges or takes you away from where we need to be. Where we need to be right now is finding that hammer, or possibly finding a book. One of those two, possibly the ether medallion.
Ether wouldn't unlock anything without hammer would be the issue. Mirror would unlock. Oh yeah, mirror is required as well. Mirror would unlock Tower of Terror, so that could be a possibility. Although that's just another bottleneck, really. Now, Mr. Ed is making his way up Aghanim. We do have a game. It's guess how many blue balls. Well, Mr. Ed will be receiving from Aghanim today. I'm going to go with 2.
You know what? I think perhaps 3.
Okay.
The seed has been mean enough.
There we go. Yeah, the thing is, the only thing that Mr. Ed hasn't done that would be in the back of his mind would be purple chest, really. So, as much as I know by it, and all our other runners are just doing the checks the other ones haven't done effectively. Everybody's on 3 crystals. and we're getting into that Aga fight. So in this Aga fight, the first attack that Aghanim gives is one that can be reflected. 2 to 4 are random, and then 5 is the lightning shot. Definitely. Well, 1 to 4 cannot be the lightning shot. We need... well, that's the first blue ball from Aghanim. I believe it's 6. I have forgotten a little bit. Yes, it is definitely 6 from Aghanim. So, Mr. Egg gets 3 hits on Aghanim, and this is a guaranteed one for him. Using the Cane of Samaria, that's 2 blue balls. Yeah, I haven't seen this strat before. If anybody in chat knows how the Cane of Samaria is used in order to defeat Aga, please tell me. But I've counted 4 at the moment. Do you concur, Sarah?
Yep, that's 4 so far, and I'm as perplexed as you. What he's doing with the Cane of Samaria, but it has been some nice style points for sure.
It was for the style points.
And while we were watching the fight, 8-Bit did the current jump and is going to give us our first check of the pyramid.
Oh, interesting. Yes, and just 50 rupees on Pyramid Ledge. So that could be big with regards to that can jump, because now Mr. Ed, whilst he can go and he's finished Aghanim, it means that 8-Bit can just go and finish off. I see the difference between the two. Mr. Ed has not checked Lumberjack, has just thought, okay, it's definitely on Lumberjack. That's why I'm going to rush towards it. Sadly, we'll find out. I believe that it's just 20 rupees.
Lucian is also did a jump and is on the way to Catfish as well. So we're getting our first look at the eastern side of the Dark World.
And thank you, chat, for reminding me. Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce this, but A Bauer 0815. Thank you for guessing the amount of blue balls. You can get free rando seats for life, basically. And we'll definitely be having the GT Big Key guessing games. Well, I'd say soon, but there's still a lot of the Dark World in order to figure out. Mainly Pod, but yeah. Well, Pod, Swamp, Palace, Turtle Rockets, Crystals, and then got to go up for Tower of Hera as well. So yeah, Mr. Ed 3 is going to be doing purple chest, it seems. So that can jump effectively means 8-Bit is a bit ahead of our runners. Lucian Grief, did Lucian do a Kern jump as well?
They did, and both 8-Bit and Lucian checked Catfish, and are, I'd imagine, both heading to Pod at this point.
Yeah, definitely. So 5 possible items in Pod. It's possible that it's not just one bit of progression here. It could be, well, it could be all of them. We could get Ether, Mirror, and Hammer just in Pod going, yeah, you can complete the seed now. GG's. Mr. Ed turning in that purple chest, same as Power 2 Mario. And now it should be a race through Pod, really. Although Mr. Ed saving and quitting from Link's house, so we'll see where he'll be going now. So that's a small key in the first chest of Pod. That means that this, the right side isn't the front isn't bow locked, because, you know, if there wasn't one, there would be a key on the right side. Which the right side is bow locked, although it doesn't come into play here since all of our runners got the bow, and I believe it was early on. I can double check it, but I believe that was Blind's house. So, 8-bit checking the middle of pod. Going to be checking around the big key chest and then warping to the right side.
So it feels like pod is where our runners need to be. What do you think we're gonna find here, Goron?
I'm gonna hope the seat's nice. Okay, I'm gonna go for mirror and flippers for hammer in Swamp Palace. There you go. Mirror and flippers. We haven't seen an item yet. Pod is also the Palace of Keys. There are 6 small keys in Pod, so a lot of these chests will be riddled with keys. Which does, if you ever see the Key Sanity mode, mean that, you know, Pod has even more items in that specific mode. Just a compass on right side, and another key on right side, so items have got to be in the back of Pod here. Latebic is going to be having to take the long way. Oh, I see. Is just going to walk to the front here. Whilst Power 2 Mario is doing the same as Mr. Ed and defeating Agnum, and Mr. Ed is making his way to Pod. So this is the bottleneck. We've got 8-bit at the front currently, with Lucian slightly behind, Mr. Ed, you know, nearly there in Pod, and Power 2 Mario deciding to do Agnum, and is last at the moment. Although with regards to where items are, this could change, and execution can still matter with regards to the seed.
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely one of these ball attacks. We're getting a first look at some of the items in the back. 8-bit picking up another key, while Lucian Green is heading to the back themselves.
First item's 3 bombs. Second item is Piece of Heart. There are 2 items left here. Sorry, no, there are 3. I was just thinking there has to be an item on the boss. There doesn't have to be an item on the boss in this mode. Don't mind me, everybody. So 3 possible items left. One of these items could be on the boss, but it's unlikely. I believe that we have... I don't know if I saw 8-bit check Harmless Hellway. That is the flute. That grants access to Misery Maya, which definitely is something.
And the flippers.
The flippers don't give anything automatically. 8-bit not finding that big key is what my guess would be. The big key was on the boss and must have done Harmless Hellway. So where does 8-bit go now? It seems as though he's going to activate the flute. So
Activate the flute and then go check the Mire area. Imagine. The Mire shed specifically.
So yes, definitely. Maya shed, the only way that they could get into Maya is if they got a medallion. My estimate is that the medallion will come in soon. That's my estimate. At least one of the medallions. Probably the one for Misery Maya.
Could be sitting right on the doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. And there, 8-bit is activating his flute.
Lucius Green getting the news that the next piece of the puzzle is the flute, and is heading over to activate it as well.
Yeah, flute activation is definitely good with regards to movement, but it is the only progression that we have now. So something has to be in these 2 chests. Even if it is, and we don't see what the medallion is, it's Bombos. This is either Bombos could be progression here. So we will just have to see. That's the hammer. That is definitely progression. And that is a double dip of Turtle Rock. Sorry, Turtle Rock. A double dip of Pod required.
Double dip a pod. Now, with that hammer in hand, that opens up a lot of options. Where is Late Bit going to go?
Late Bit is going to 8. This looks like it's an Ice Palace play. Personally, I think that it would still be good to finish off. Well, in all fairness, you could finish off Pub for the crystal, but I'm sure the runners have been counting the items, so they know that they would know if an item's on the boss or not. Tower of Hera is an option, although that's another trip up the mountain, which is understandable why our runners wouldn't want to go there.
Lucid Green getting their hammer. Mr. Ed working his way through pod is going to be picking up his flute and flippers soon. And Power Mario is going to talk to the catfish, it looks like, before they're getting funneled into pod as well.
Chat saying, did TT Big Chest have item? No, I don't know if it had an item or not. I wasn't counting, so my apologies. The chat are also saying that hammer pegs is a possibility, so we'll see if that comes into play. The hammer does give us a few checks, though, which is definitely good to see. And Lucian Grief having that hammer is going to be now doing Palace of Darkness again. So, yeah, just seeing chat, supposedly Late Bit skipped the first chest. Interesting. I don't specifically understand the reason for that, but that's just me. Maybe Late Bit just thinks it's the green pendant or it's Ped or something.
Yeah, they're rushing straight to the end here with Ice Palace, so it's a peculiar choice, skipping that particular chest for sure.
Although, it's possible I misread the map. It looks as though it's a C in the top left corner of Late Bit's screen. So it looks as though this is possibly a crystal, but if that's the case, we'll need to see what a pendant is. Well, we'll get to know now. Late Bit getting that key, and that is a crystal. Ice Palace is a crystal.
And
Yep. So Ice Palace was, I believe, a 5/6 crystal, actually. Yeah, just must have misread it. It does happen. So, yeah. Just going to be putting in that crystal. Late Bit must be assuming that he's close to go mode, effectively.
it
Is my guess.
was a very quick Colster fight, very well done. Lucian is going to be giving us our hammer hammer fight, putting that hammer to
Yes,
use.
definitely. So, yeah. So, people saying that Maya, Desert, and Swamper pendants got it. So, that does mean that the mirror isn't required this seed. And let's just see. Late Bit is now going to be doing Palace of Darkness. And yes, chat saying Flute was in pod. Yes, Flute was in pod. Why was Aga required? Aga was required because our runners can logically get to the east side of the Dark World without the hammer. The hammer being effectively. Basically, there are two ways of getting there. Three ways: either the hammer, the flippers, or Aga. And none of our runners found hammer of the flippers to get to the East Dark World.
Yeah, the flippers were in the Palace of Darkness, and the flute was in Palace of Darkness, which you needed to get to the Mire area to pick up the hammer. So if we're following the logic of the game, Aga was definitely required.
Yes, logically, Aga was required. And again, asking about Kern jumping. 8-Bit and Lucian Greeth Kern jumped. Mr. Ed 3 and Power to Mario did not. The difference being that I believe 8-Bit and Lucian Greeth checked Lumberjack Ledge, whilst Mr. Ed and Power to Mario didn't. Both of the top runners assumed that it meant that Aga locked something on Lumberjack Ledge. The bottom two didn't. Was what I was figuring out logically, but you know.
So Lucian picked up silvers from the Hamasaur fight, which means that we're going to have a little bit more of a streamlined Ganon fight tonight, which is going to be a relief for our runners, I believe.
Yes, silvers will be good for, well, in theory, the only thing silvers will be good for is probably Swamp Palace at this point. But we'll see if any of the pendant dungeons are necessary. And yes, so yeah. Again, Ice Palace isn't a pendant. That pendant is Swamp Palace, so that means that 8-Bit is on 4 crystals at the moment, nearly on 5, getting that pod crystal. And yes, it would, because 8-Bit effectively go moded ice. It would be big if something else was in ice for 8-Bit. So we'll see. We'll see if it's important, and we'll see where 8-Bit chooses to go to. Although checks are effectively drying up for 8-Bit, it's got to be Tower of Hera, right?
Going in the back way to get to Tower of Hera, yeah, that seems to be our next play, I think. Cave is also an option.
So let's just see. Mr. Ed is nice now, completing it. I was just seeing that, and Lucian is finishing off ice as well. Just seeing, have we seen any item checks from either of them? I believe it seemed like Mr. Ed has go moded ice, and Lucian has possibly checked one of the chests, but we'll just see. And 8-Bit is now doing Tower of Hera for his 6th crystal. So Mr. Ed is facing off against Cold Stare, using those Fire Rod shots, getting that small key and his 4th crystal.
What are we expecting to see here in Tower of Hera? What sort of item is our next piece?
I mean,
Have to be.
if you're hoping for 8-Bit right now, you've got to be hoping just Ether. If it's Ether, 8-Bit has effectively got a good lead on all his competitors. Like, this would be a big lead, and yeah. If you're anybody else, I mean, something has to be. I'm trying to think. There are that is 8-Bit's 6th crystal, which is Tower of Hera. Yeah. If you're anybody else, you've got to hope it's something like Mirror for a possible Swamp Palace dip or something like that. Latebit hasn't done the bottom of Tower of Hera, is now going to be doing Spike Cave. We haven't seen this before. And Lucian will be checking Ice Tea Room, so I don't believe this has been seen before. Whilst Power 2 Mario is doing Pod, and Spike Cave is effectively nothing. So Mr. Ed is just getting set up for a Hera part. And Latebit is definitely going into the Dark World. This should be for Pyramid Fairy. There are 2 items here. At least if the item's on Pyramid Fairy, Latebit will need to go back up the mountain. However, again, everybody will need to do this, so yeah, I'd say at this point it seems as though Latebit does have a sizable lead on the rest of our runners. We'll see if, this Pyramid Fairy bomb makes it linear and means that Latebit can just finish up this race. The only other option being, unless something was skipped in Hera, which I'd assume not, a full heart container, 300 rupees.
And
So, hammer pegs.
hammer pegs. Or I wonder if Latebit is starting to second guess. We know that the skip in Ice Palace is nothing, but I'm wondering if that's going to be in their back of their mind too.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. And this is a magic bat check from Latebit. Another hammer check, so that means there are 2 checks here. What is on Magic Bat? Just 10 arrows, so hammer pegs, hammer pegs? What do you think is on hammer pegs? Because it has to be hammer pegs right now.
I'm racking my brain to try and think of what else it could be. We don't have the keys to get into any other dungeon at this point.
Mirror would give us access to Swamp Palace, Desert Palace. Bombos would give us access to Misery Maya. And then the golden ticket would be Ether for Turtle Rock. Ether for Turtle Rock would be brilliant for Latebit.
Yep. Could also be a book. Could also be the shovel.
Ah, yes. It could be the book, which could lead to something, also allowing Desert Palace, the shovel also leading to something. And it is the book. So that gives us Ether, enough to trip up the mountain, or or Desert Palace. And yes, that was a pun on Ether tablet.
Yeah, 2 completely different parts of the map.
Bombos will be possible, but we need the mirror face. So this is Latebit going into Desert Palace. At least Latebit doesn't need to worry about Desert Palace possibly being bootslot this seed, as Latebit has the boots.
I see in chat there's a little bit of hype for Vanilla Ether.
Yeah, it's completely possible. Desert Palace not being the green pendant means that There are only 2 items here. We haven't checked Ped yet. Although, can Ped be possible? Ped can be possible with Ether. So Ped is still alive to anybody loving Ped here. And that is the big key on Torch. So 8-Bit is going to be opening the big chest. That will be a small key for the 2 items on the right side. And we'll see if they're just items or if one of these items is on Lambo in the back.
And it looks like some of our other runners are getting ready to finish up some fights soon in Ice Palace and in Palace of Darkness for Power to Mario and Mr. Ed 3, respectively.
Yep, Mr. Ed 3 going to fight off against Helmasaur, whilst Power 2 Mario is going to fight off against Coldstad. This will be for both of their 5th crystals. Both of these will just be a few checks behind. And 8-Bit was checking Desert Palace, has saved and quit. And
Yep.
I'm just trying
Heading up to the
see.
mountain to go see Ether.
Yes, so it must have been nothing then. I was so hyped to see it, and then I was just like, oh wait, I'll check the top, and then it was like blinking, you'll miss those 2 items. So something has to be on Ether. It could be vanilla. I'm definitely describing this by Ceratops, by the way. So you know, 8-Bit is making his way up Paradox Cave up the mountain.
So, what do you think it's going to be, Goran? Do you think it's going to be Ether? Do you think it's going to be
I think
Shovel, the mirror?
Yeah, I think it's Ether. 8-Bit is making his way across the bridge towards Hera. Is making his way left. Is going past Tower of Hera, past the bridge. Is opening up the tablet. Ether comes out of the tablet. It is Ether. Ether is on Ether. Vanilla Ether tablet. And that is 8-Bit in go mode at 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 46 seconds.
He's going to track that medallion just a little eastward, go into Turtle Rock, and zoom through that as quickly as possible, I'd imagine.
Yep, he is definitely making his way to Turtle Rock. And that means that none of the pendant dungeons needed to be dipped tonight. And the only one dipped by 8-Bit is Desert Palace. So now we know that literacy is very important.
With the palette swap, Turtle Rock looks even more ominous than usual.
So Ed about to make his way for Hammer Pegs, same as Power 2 Mario. Lucian Grief is doing the big bomb, and 8-Bit is in Turtle Rock with a sizable lead on all of them. And that is the big key on right side. There'll be a small key on the left side of Turtle Rock. And we just need to see if 8-Bit can get enough keys in order to finish Turtle Rock. And after that, 8-Bit will be able to skip a lot of checks. So Mr. Ed picking up that book. He has checked Pyramid Fairy, so we'll see where he goes from here. This will be a flute away, is it? No, Mr. Ed is fluting away, yes. And it seems as though Power 2 Mario is checking Desert Palace. Same with Mr. Ed. And yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's the right place to go picking up that book, However, we know that it needs to be used up at Death Mountain.
Yep. It makes sense because you don't want to be doing the Death Mountain climb and then double backing on yourself again. So it definitely saves more time doing it this way than the other way. So yeah. Late bit powdering those anti-fairies into fairies, increasing his health.
Is he an egg? Was that?
Yep, that is the non-Moonpearl sprite of Late Bit's Yoshi. And yes, I wouldn't. Chat has asked this. I wouldn't know about Lucian Grief's sprite, sadly. So we'll just be able to. Well, we can possibly ask later.
Speaking of Lucian Green, he's going to collect the book in Hammer Pegs.
Yep. And both Mr. Ed and Power 2 Mario are probably going to be going up the mountain, both of them saving and critting at the same time. So, Late Bit making his way through the dark room of Turtle Rock, whilst Mr. Ed and Power 2 Mario are making their way up the mountain. And Lucian Grief is doing Desert Palace now. So, Mr. Ed making a little bit of time on Power 2 Mario. Late Bit is checking.
We got the key. He's getting the key, and then just heading straight to the. Oh, and straight to the fight.
Yep. Getting that key off of Laser Bridge and is going to face off against Trinex. Now, we do a GT Big K guessing game soon. How I like to do it is right before the fight with regards to Trinex, because Late Bit will be getting to GT quite quickly after this, so getting your guesses now. My guess will be 3 this time. What's your guess going to be, Braceratops?
Do you know what? I've been guessing early guesses lately, and I've been wrong every time, so I'm going to say 18.
Okay. So we shall see. There's a lot of guesses in here coming in from chat. That is Trinex down, and that is Late Bit's 7th crystal.
And Chad has also answered that Lucian Green is actually the drummer from Rush, Neil Peart. That's his sprite.
Okay. So, well, we now know, basically. Swamp is not a crystal, it's a pendant, to clarify. So, Late Bit is on 7 crystals. Yeah. But yeah, just, well, thanks to our trackers for tracking this. So, make sure your guesses are in. Late Bit is making his way towards GT. 7 crystals in hand. And Late Bit is making his way into GT. And chat saying Mir's probably in GT. That's a possibility. We'll see if it's here, if it's not an early big key. That is torch number 1, and that is just a piece of art. Do you want to do number 2, Briceratops, and I'll do odds, you do evens?
Sounds good.
So Late Bit going into Stalfos room, and yep.
It's another key for number 2.
20 rupees for number 3.
Bottle.
And that is a key for number 5. So we'll see if 8-Bit goes right from here, or if he decides to go to Rando Room. Well, all the other rooms before then. So this is number 6.
And it's a big 20.
Yep. And it should be Fireball Room next, if I remember correctly. Late bit is the furthest, that's the bottom left screen. Number 7 is the mirror, so mirror was in GT. And supposedly Lucian getting a God pixel with regards to Thieves Down. So interesting to see. So here we go, numbers 8 through 11.
In number 8, we have 5.
Number 9, we have a compass.
Another 20 for 10.
And 11 is the big key. So let's see who guessed 11. Nobody has tonight, but, well, have great luck in your future GT Big Key endeavors. Late bit definitely using that late mirror to good use. So, I mean, yeah, it does seem like Late Bit has a commanding lead out of all our runners' restreams. Is it possible for our other runners to make it up? I mean, Mr. Ed is close on facing off against Trinex, but it must be, what, a 4 to 5 minute lead that Late Bit is commanding right now?
It would, a series of unfortunate things would need to happen at this point, I think, for Late Bit to lose their lead, but it's rando, you never know. I will say, though, that Late Bit is moving through the gauntlet with a fair amount of ease.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the only way that there would be a race is if something terrible happened to Late Bit, which we hope doesn't effectively happen. So yeah, it just seems like Late Bit probably has this. The only sort of thing that would, that I could think of would be, you know, an accidental death near Aga 2 would probably start to make up the difference, really. Late Bit is facing off against Lamo 2 and does it with ease.
Well, Mr. Ed is finishing off Trinex and will be heading into Ganon's Tower shortly.
So Mr. Ed making light work of Trinex. And we'll be going into GT. Yep. So the good thing about seeing the GT climb is that it truly is a gauntlet. All of our runners have to go through this, and we get to see how professional all our runners are, and how great the execution is.
Yes, it's no matter what game you're playing. Well, that's not necessarily true, but for many modes, it's required. So it's definitely a part of the game that all our runners have probably practiced many times.
Yes, so Mr. Ed making his way into GT, whilst Lucian Grief is at the start of Turtle Rock, and Power 2 Mario is nearing the end of it, about to face off against Trinex. Late Bit is off to face off against Moldorm, too. And that is such a good Moldorm, too, from Late Bit. Just waiting for Moldorm to disappear and gets Quake. That's a medallion not needed in this seed. Well, nothing else is needed, but, for opening Maya, let's say.
To give us peace of mind, so that at least when you go to bed tonight, Goron, you can rest soundly knowing what was in the final chest.
Yes. Thank you, 8-Bit. Thank you. So 8-Bit is going to do Aga 2. That is a double.
Followed by another double.
Will this be a triple-double? No, Aga giving a blue ball there means that it is a 2-2-1-1. So, that is a shame. And yeah, 8-Bit is going to be facing off against Ganon soon. This is Tempered Sword Silvers, so will hopefully not be too hard for him.
Have you ever wondered how the goose is able to travel through dimensions? Right there at the end?
I just thought the goose was the true protagonist of this game. Not Link, but
Certainly a true friend.
The goose should be a sprite if it isn't already. There you go. So 8-Bit is on to the second phase of Ganon, as Mr. Ed, I believe, picks up his big key, and mirrors out and is making the climb. So Ganon is on his third phase now.
Power to Mario is just heading into Ganon's tower.
Yep. And 8-Bit is on the fourth stage, has the silvers in hand, gets the single off, gets the torch glitch off, and this is 3 more hits, 1 hit here, and 1 hit there. I must have missed a hit there. Something was a hit that I thought was a miss. Anyways, get your GGs ready in chat. That is 8-Bit finishing the game, and I will get you all the results shortly, up until 8-Bit.
8-Bit finishing with a time of 1:32:55. Excellent game. Good game.
Yep. So, Ganon's Gone Wild finished with 125.35, Vortex of Doom 128.04, Jolo Ninja 129.33, Telethar 132.07, RD Walsh V 132.34. Then it's 8-Bit, and yeah, so after this we'll see where the others line up. So 8-Bit 132.36, as has already been said. We'll see if we get our runners in, and it seems as though we'll be joined shortly by 8-Bit. Welcome, 8-Bit. GG's.
GG's. When I said I was down to clown, I didn't mean I was gonna myself like that.
Yeah, excellent game. Good playing. Can I ask you, how did you feel about all the bottlenecks in this particular seed?
Bad. The pod access was a coin flip. Either I left my pod access, which was either flippers or hammer, in early checks, or it was locked behind Aga, and I chose to chase those early checks, and that was just not the right play. And then, of course, I scared myself to death by go-moding Ice Palace when I shouldn't have. But Vanilla Ether bailed me out, so that was fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember there was a little bit of confusion in chat about the way you moved through Ice Palace. Fortunately, it turned out to be the right play, but it absolutely was an Aga seed in the most strange way.
Yeah, don't see that often. Usually it's to get something off Lumberjack or Worst case off the pyramid. It's not for pod access, but yeah, that was weird. And yeah, right as I finished Cold Stare, I glanced at my tracker and saw the blank medallions, and I said, "Uh-oh." But I couldn't go
Yeah.
back because that's admitting I made a big mistake. So I had to continue on as if ice was a bust, and fortunately it worked out.
It did seem as though there were a lot of dips with regards to this seed. I mean, what did you think of double dipping pod going up the mountain multiple times, even for Ether? You had to go up, although that led you to Turtle Rock, so I guess that wasn't one of the major dips. But yeah, what did you think of all these sorts of double dips that you had to do?
Yeah, you don't see that kind of double dip in pod every day. That's it's frustrating, but it's I like these seeds that throw curveballs that you don't see very often. So that answered the question as to how I was supposed to get to pod, and I realized it like 15 minutes too late, or I might have been up there in the top 5. But still a fun seed.
Mr. Ed, I don't know if you've been watching here, Goram. Mr. Ed's been practicing some hover strats.
Yes, Mr. Ed has hovered this before. I'm
And is so close, so close.
Mr. Ed memeing? Well, I never.
This is this does happen effectively. But yes, this means that Power 2 Mario might be able to make up the difference here with Mr. Ed doing this, and that's Mr. Ed's third fall. I mean, was it ever in your mind that something like Ether could be on ped? Because it was just niggling there at the back of my mind, commentating. I was like, I hope it's not ped this time. But yeah, so will Mr. Ed defeat Moldorm now?
And he did it.
Yes, that is definitely good.
So, late bit, may I ask, the seconds before you pulled the ether from the ether tablet, what was going through your brain? You knew it had to be something.
Yep, it was either that or I was tucking my tail between my legs and going back to ice. Unfortunately, like I said, vanilla ether with a massive bailout right there. Because I don't think I left much else behind.
No, we got a lot of checks, pretty much all the checks from all the runners, I believe. Of course, not Swamp Palace or their Misery Mire, but there wasn't much left on the table.
Yeah, there was nothing. There wasn't a bombos leading up to Misery Mire. You saw where the mirror was. Effectively, a lot of this was just runners redoing the checks that the other runner had done. Skullwoods, Thievestown, Eastern Palace. Those were the main 3 that we saw people doing at different times, effectively. Just because that was the left side, and those were the only 3 that you could effectively go into. Just trying to think. I mean, again, what did you think of the Purple Chest and Blacksmith World Tour? I guess late bit.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the curveballs to see through, but yeah, that was ridiculous. And then, of course, I'm a DM guy when it comes to GT routing, and I cleared the Stalfos room and reached for my mirror, and it wasn't there. I said, "Well, I guess I'm rando rushing," and that was another fortunate break.
Yes. So we do see Mr. Ed facing off against Ganon. and Power 2 Mario doing the same. Mr. Ed getting those 4 silvers in, and get your GGs in for Mr. Ed. And we'll get the time shortly, and we'll see if Mr. Ed wants to join us. In the meantime, Power 2 Mario is in the 3rd phase of Ganon. So, counting down the times to Mr. Ed 3, we have Smirk JD 133.06, Lana Bean 134.16, Barrett 777 134.27, Joss 138.29, Secret Leah Sliver 139.06, and Mr. Ed 140.21. And get your GGs ready for Power 2 Mario. And we are joined by Mr. Ed. Welcome, Mr. Ed. GG's.
GG's. I'd like to summarize the seed as the masterclass of stupidity.
Congratulations. It definitely felt frustrating with all those bottlenecks, I imagine.
You had the bottlenecks, but I mean, I'd like to blame blame the developers that says, oh, if you play cross keys and you have a smith, you can basically go anywhere that you want. But silly me, because I've been doing a lot of cross keys, I wanted to check what Aga was, because when I got the boots and then I got that lamp at King's Tomb, I'm just kind of like, well, geez, you know, I'm kind of curious. Maybe something's on Aga, but I'd already brought the smith, so I couldn't even check. So at that time, it was either, all right, it's an Aga required or really not Aga required. There's something on Lumberjack, or there's something on Purple Chest. And because I didn't get a chance to see what was on Lumberjack, I decided to go for full punishment and do Aga 1 for the fun of it. And then it became a series of, I'm going to last locate everything that I want to. So, hence my file name, if people see, hence my file name, meme or bust. Well, that's what I did. And I'm very happy to say that.
Do you want to explain your specific strategy with the Cane of Samaria in the Aga fight? I was a bit confused to exactly what you were doing.
My strategy is I had to put on a show for the speed gaming chat.
Ah, I see.
I said style points.
That's all it was. I mean, I didn't have a bug. Like, when I made the climb, I literally looked at my inventory saying, I wonder what I could do. I don't have a bug net. Me blasting through fire rod or ice rod shots made no sense. Hook shot, I didn't really feel like depleting my bombs, and then magic powder just seemed too easy, so I decided to make Aga a blockhead. And then when in between cycles, I was able to play a little Samaria Soccer, my favorite in-game routine. So yeah, that's all that was. And then let's also shout out the fact that the magic bat again is useless. That's why I decided to arrow the daylights out of it, could throw a couple bombs, and also make that a blockhead too, because, well, why not?
Yes.
I'm also just very happy that it took me less than 11 tries to hover, because at that point I'm like, well, I really got to put on a show at this point. I knew I was not in good shape here, so I'm like, yeah. That's all I'm about, is to entertain anybody who watches this, and I hope that I show that I can actually do things good. But I don't know why, it's just so much fun to meme, and I can't help myself sometimes.
Well, this has certainly been an entertaining race for all our runners, and I hope that everyone in chat gives every one of our runners a subscribe.
Yeah. Well, a subscribe would be brilliant for each of our runners. They've
earned it after this particular seed.
Listen, I deserve no subscription, but a follow and or just a hello in chat is all I really ever ask for. So, like I said,
Also
I
nice.
do this. Yeah, I do this. Listen, I do this for the pure fun of it, and it's thanks to the Speed Gaming volunteers and everybody that puts this on that lets us display both the skill that's involved and the memory that can ensue with this. You know, and I hope that I showed at least a combination of both, of certain aspects where I was actually pretty good, and certain aspects where, you know what, this guy's a real clown, and he seems like a cool dude. And if I can get that's all I ever ask for. That's good by me.
Yeah, and we should soon have Power to Mario. We'll just see on it, and Lucian Grief is about to finish up here. Yeah, definitely seeing you have a Mr. Ed was interesting because Power to Mario was very much right behind you there. So it was like, how many failed hover attempts until Power to
finishing in the
okay.
bottom half.
When I was in Turtle Rock, I tried. I was kind of feeling like, okay, am I gonna have the ability to hover today?
What are you doing?
And I knew that I couldn't. Like I just basically felt, yeah, this ain't gonna work. But grit and determination paid off, and you know that and stubbornness. So you know, hey, cool.
Yeah, definitely. Get your GGs ready for Lucian Grief, and I will check the times here up until. So let me just see. Obo is 143.25. CP Colin is 145.09. 15th. Dare Dash is 145.53. Lucian Grief is then 146.05, and I'll go up until the time now because all four of our runners are here. Sawyer is 146.14, Frenzy 146.50, and Diabetes 146.51. So we still have about 7 runners left, and we'll see who turns up on that. And we may be joined by Lucian Grief as well. So
Yeah. Also, too late bit if you're still there. GGs. That was a fun race. When I saw GGW finish, I'm like, yeah, well, he's smarter than I am, but you know what? I like to meme, so cool.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. GG's. That was clownish seed for clownish runners. So I guess that's why I liked it.
I mean, this was just about like, all right. Now, I do have actually a question because I did go for maximum punishment. Am I soft locked? Am I technically soft locked because I saved and quit right after completing AGA 1 with progression as flute? Like, if I actually made the climb to Castle Tower, would it warp me back? Or am I technically soft locked? Because that was what I was wondering. I'm like, wow, this seed actually could have actually put you in a situation where you couldn't logically recover.
It's a good question. I've never thought of that.
And GG's and welcome Lucian Grief and Power to Mario. And yeah, I don't know about that. Does anybody here do?
I didn't even go to AGA. I did a kern jump over to the East Arc World.
Well, that's what I did, but I'm just trying to think, like, as far as like the gameplay is concerned, I've never like I did the kern jump as well after the fact, but because I had the Smith with me when I wanted to check Lumberjack at that time, and again I blame Crosskeys for this. I was not allowed to go in there, and then I realized, oh yeah, I can't do that. I'm like, well, you know what? I had not done Uncle or Escape at all. I'm like, this is a perfect time. I'm just gonna YOLO. If the progression is not there, I'm just going to YOLO Castle Tower. I'm going to grab what's on Lumberjack. It felt like it was going to be a hammer. To my surprise, it wasn't. So then I did Purple Chest, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. But, like, if you got into the Dark World, theoretically, from AGA, and say, for example, you have no idea how to kern jump, and you saved and quit from the top like I did just for the pure fun of it, if you climb Castle Tower, does it warp you back to the Dark World? Oh, no, wait. No, never mind. You could just take the portal. Okay, I'm sorry. That was absolutely silly of me. Sorry for saying anything. I'm a bigger moron than I thought.
But,
I had a tracker goof going back to that Thieves Town big chests, so it's all good.
And Mr. Ed, I had you. If I hadn't soft locked fake flippers, that was fun.
Yeah, that's I mean the back of Pod was actually pretty funny, but
Yeah,
like I
Pod's
said,
hilarious.
I mean when I sign up for these things, you know, if I want to be ultra competitive and I actually had my mindset to it, yeah, but I mean I have to try my best to put on a show. Like the combination of showing that I'm halfway decent, which is, you know, subject to people's opinions, but definitely the fact that I meme and I clown things. And again, I hope I put on a good show. I know Late Bit, Power Tomorrow, and Lucy and Greeth definitely put on a good show, and I'm just glad to be a part of the four that are here. And I thank you guys very much for sharing this with us. This was fun.
Also,
This
speaking
is
of
always fun.
clowns, congrats to the clown himself, Late Bit.
Appreciate it.
I'll tell you, I was feeling really, like the first 10 minutes after CAC, I just like laser guided found progression in those opening moves after CAC. Like, I was feeling real good about everything.
Oh, I held off on CAC as long as humanly possible. I again, my goal is to have massive divergence, so I'm sure people either went to, you know, did Uncle start at Sank, go to CAC, you know, things like that. No, I hula-handed myself and went right to Saha, and then I did all South Shore stuff, and yeah, I did CAC as late as possible, and then I was actually surprised. I usually don't check Lost Woods because I'm lazy, but I was actually shocked that Moon Pearl was there. So, yeah, I mean, I had a good time. And I hope everybody else did too. But yeah, I mean, this was just a nice seed.
This is a wacky scene. Like,
So-
vanilla either for Go Mode.
Now, did anybody else go to Desert before Ether?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think everybody did, actually.
I'm actually shocked it wasn't like Mirror and it was behind a Mirror check or Swap Pals or something like that.
I remember finding mirroring GT. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Mm.
Yeah, I believe after getting to the Dark Palace, everyone took essentially the same route. Late Bit, I think you sped through Ice Palace, but for the end half of the game, we were just watching all our runners essentially do the same checks.
Yeah, that definitely felt extremely awkward the entire time. I felt like scrambled eggs wherever I was going. So it's comforting to know that I wasn't the only one scrambled trying to find stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like an idiot going back to Thieves Town. I miscounted my items apparently.
I feel like an idiot doing Aga 1.
This seed did really hold no prisoners. Like, there was only one way to do everything, and effectively, if you didn't do it this one way, you know, if you checked everything else beforehand, it was just like, well, that's an extra 20 to 30 minutes. Well, you're gonna do Aga 1. I mean, the saving grace is you didn't have to dip a pendant dungeon. How do you all feel about that?
We didn't have to, but by the sounds of it, all of us did. So, you know, that's not exactly comforting. We still did.
Yeah, there are worse pendant dungeons to dip than Desert.
I mean, I'll put it this way: it didn't matter, you know, at that point when I got the book. You know, of course, you know, let's go over what I actually hard last located. I hard last located Flute. I technically hard last located Flippers, but that's really not necessary in this seed. I hard last located Book. I hard last located Ether. I hard last located Hammer. I'd say this about as went as well as possible, but yeah, it just it didn't matter when I got that book. It didn't matter. It's like, well, I could either go for the YOLO for Ether Tablet, or I can go do 2 items in Desert. And I just knew to myself, yeah, whatever decision I make is going to be wrong. So what's the point?
Yeah, it felt better to do Desert first for me, just because. Oh, you do Desert, don't get your item. Okay, go to your next crystal, which is Hera, and then you're right by your final dungeon, and then you're golden.
I think I did too many desert climbs. I did Hera relatively early, thinking my go mode might have been in Pyramid.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's why I actually did Hera before going back to Pod, so I could check Pyramid Fairy. And when that was a bust, that didn't feel good. So
I'm right with you there.
Yeah.
I don't think I did it in that order, but close enough so I feel the same.
Yeah, it was when I got that hammer, I did all of Ice. Then I went straight to Hera, because literally all I had was Hera. When I sequence broke the hook shot, I actually went to the mountain fairly. I went to the mountain before I went to CAC, and the mountain was bare bones. Like, at least Light World Mountain was nothing. I don't even think Dark Death Mountain had much of anything either. But I went to Hera, after I did Ice, just to say, well, it kind of feels like either a mirror, or if I'm lucky, Ether is going to be behind Pyramid Fairy. And to my surprise, it wasn't. I'm like, well, it doesn't seem like the last item on Helmstar is going to be it. So now I had to try to figure out what I was going to do. And then it came down to Magic Bat and Hammer Pegs. And of course, I checked Magic Bat first because I had to subject myself to pain and suffering. And then, yeah, the book behind Hammer Pegs, that was just... that was the Seed's way of saying, ha ha ha, you're not done yet.
Oh gosh. Yeah, definitely with that.
Yeah, because when you get the book and you've got two quick checks in Desert and a check all the way up on Ether Tablet, like, yeah, the logical play is to go for Desert. It's like, psych.
I mean, if you had the mirror earlier, like, to be honest, if I had the mirror, I probably would have checked Ether first, just because it's like, okay, well, you climb up the mountain, you just mirror, there you go. And then if that's not there, okay, it's Desert, because at that point, it's pretty easy and convenient. If it happens to be there with a really quick and efficient check using the mirror, then you could just jettison your way over to Turtle Rock. But without that mirror, it just felt very, very clunky. Like it's nice that you're limited as far as what checks that you're able to make. So like all the mirror checks, you don't have to worry about. Swamp House is dead. But I'm happy to say that because of my strategic routing in Turtle Rock Laser Bridge, I did have Bombos. So if I really want to, I can go back and I can start doing Mire if anybody's really interested.
I could probably do without it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I mean, there's not much more for me sort of to ask as a commentator about it, and probably best to wrap up. So anything else you as runners want to say about this seed, and about things in general?
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, whoever rolled it deserves a gold medal. That's about all I gotta say about that. But no, again,
Josh Bittner.
Josh, you definitely get a gold medal. You get a gold star for this one. But no, I definitely want to express my my gratitude and appreciation to all the speed gaming volunteers, the restreamers, the commentators, trackers, Goron. I'm gonna butcher this name. I apologize. Braceriatops. I apologize. But
I think it's like Triceratops, like
Triceratops.
Triceratops.
There we go. Thank you, Raka. Thank you guys so much. But again, to all the volunteers and everybody that helps out in the community, not only just in the ALTTPR community, but the entire speed gaming family in general. They do so much to put on a good show for anybody that's interested. And again, follow Speed Gaming Prime 2 through 6, Deutsch, Espanol. I'm probably missing a couple of them, but everybody here that helps out volunteers. They're amazing people. They're great. They're taking their time out to help put on a show. And yeah, we put on the show as the runners, but if it wasn't for speed gaming or just streaming in general, we wouldn't be able to have a platform to display. So again, thank you guys so much. And don't necessarily follow me because I am a clown, but please follow LateBit, Power to Mario, and Lucent Greeth because they're probably really good and they don't clown around as much as I do. But by the sounds of it, LateBit does seem to clown like I do, so I appreciate that.
And on top of what you're saying, Mr. Ed, especially today, how quickly this was put together. Big thank you, especially today, for how quickly this restream was put together.
Yes, and I couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. Ed, for all the kind words for all the folks at Speed Gaming. I think we're wrapping up here. Goran, do you have anything else to say? I wanted to quickly thank Rika and I think it was Jinx Girl for our tracking as well.
Yeah, Jinxie Girl's always a great tracker.
Yeah. Just the normal stuff. Thank you to our runners, Mr. Ed3, Power to Mario, and LateBit, and Lucian Greeth for running this. Absolutely amazing people. Definitely give them a follow. Thank you for commentating with me, Briceratops. It was fun, and happy that we were able to do all this. And thank you to our trackers, Raka and Jinxie Girl. And I know that there are other things going on to Speed Gaming. It seems as though Speed Gaming for Super Metroid, Speed Gaming is... Well, I'm just seeing on Twitch itself it's retro, so I don't know exactly. Speed Gaming 3 is New Super Mario Brothers, so I know that that's a specific tournament, so you can see on those. And yeah, I'll just say, well, thank you, everybody. And you're done, Tops, with what you were saying?
Yeah, nope. I hope everyone has a good rest of the night. And of course, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.